Hi everyone, it's Lizzie with the Board Game Spotlight. Today we're going to be taking a look at Utopia, which is coming to GameFound July 19th from Gravity Games. This 1 to 4 player worker placement game pits Time Lords against each other as they try to complete 3 butterfly effect missions to bring about their perfect utopia. Travel to iconic moments in history and the future and complete these butterfly effects using knowledge and just a bit of megalomania. To start preparing for your perfect world vision to be achieved, lay out the main game board at the center of the table, and everyone is going to take a colored player map or mothership. You're going to take your 5 chronoships and 4 drones that match your color and place them on the board. These ships or chronoships represent the 5 types of knowledge that you will be collecting throughout the game. That is culture, politics, science, exploration, and military. On the main game board, we're going to place all the knowledge discs on their matching spots. And we're going to place the alternate time zone cards on their B and C decks and place them off to the right of the board. Next, the butterfly effect missions will go on the mission draw pile up here, and then the 3 cards are revealed. So we're going to play with a different amount depending on the player count. I've set up a 2-player game, so we have cards 1 through 7. Next, we're going to shuffle and place 6 cards per time zone on their respective time zone spot. So these contain 4 crew members and 2 types of tech. Again, we're setting up a 2-player game, so we're just going to use time zones 1 through 7 here. The top cards of these time zones are played face up, and there needs to be a minimum of 5 crew members showing in a 2-player game, as we will then go through and draft these crew members to our motherships that will act as the captains of our little chronoships. So the first player is chosen based on who more recently time traveled, and if that applies to no one, then the person who most recently crossed time zones would be named the first player, taking this first player token and putting it on their mothership. The first player will then choose any of the face-up crew members and place it on their mothership, matching the knowledge type shown on the card with the ship it matches. So if I was to take Catherine Johnson, she is science, she was going to go in my scientist spot. So this will be a snake draft. The person who chose last will then take their second crew member immediately, and then the first player will choose their second crew member last. Once they're in the slots, take the remaining 3 ships and place them up on your dock section of the board above your drones. These can be activated during the game by recruiting a new crew member of their type. Lastly, each person takes 2 knowledge discs, 1 matching each of the crew members' abilities, and places them on their mothership. You are now ready to play. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a game. So this is Da Vinci, he is culture. We're going to give, let me do it in the right order. He is going to be a explorer and a military. Then I would come over and be able to take culture. So I would take a culture disc and a science disc, and there are spots on the mothership for those to go. He's going to take a military and a explorer. Oh, he's already got his up there. My politician, explorer, and military would then go up to their resting place. So the game is broken down into 2 phases, the time travel phase and then the recover, refresh, reset phase. So during the time travel phase, you'll be able to choose from 4 main actions. You can deploy a chronoship, which is the most involved. It has 5 sub-actions, which we will explain in the moment. This is really the meat of the worker placement game. You can also trigger a technology. You can activate an action and a primary or secondary ability, which will come into play with your crew members. And you can also complete one of those butterfly effect missions, which are so important to the game. So when you deploy a chronoship, there are 5 types of locations they can be placed on the board. The first type of space allows them to collect a knowledge token that matches the spot they're placed on. There is 1 spot for each of the 5 knowledge types, and if you place a crew member ship there that matches the knowledge spot, you can receive 2 of that type instead of 1. So knowledge discs are infinite in this game, and if you ever run out, just find a suitable replacement. So if I was to take my scientist and place it here on the politics, I would take 1 of those tokens. However, if I was to place her on the scientist spot, I would take 2 of those tokens. Next, you can either recruit a crew member or develop a tech card depending on what is face up. So right now we have 3 crew members and 4 technology cards face up. So if you're recruiting a crew member, it depends on what number he is for how much he's going to cost. The 3rd crew member costs 2 knowledge discs, the 4th member is 3 discs, and the 5th one is 4 discs. And these discs that you are paying for the crew member must match their primary ability. So if I were going to do Niccolo Machiavelli, I would need to use politics to purchase him. So once you recruit him, you're going to put him on your board and move the ship down that matches him. This ship is now available to be used on that turn. You can also create a tech card if there's one available in the time zone or space you choose, and you're going to use 2 science discs to build it. So the card will then be slid under the board or above, depending on which time zone you're building it in, and you're going to place one of your drones on it to show ownership. If you do not have knowledge to complete either of these actions, you may pick up all the cards on the time zone, choose which card you'd like to be placed on top, and shuffle the cards beneath it. So if I had the 2 science, so let's pretend I do, to create this steam locomotion, I would put it here. I'm going to place my drone on it. Obviously, I would have had to go to this spot. I now own this spot. Alternatively, if I did not want to build that and I'm looking for a specific card, or I'm just, thinking maybe next round I'd want to create a crew member, I would shuffle the cards, find Marie Antoinette, I'm going to put her on top, and I would place her there. The third action is the trading space. This is fairly self-explanatory. It is shown here. It allows you to trade 2 identical discs in your possession for 2 different identical discs from the main board. So if you are wanting to take advantage of this science and use Captain Johnson to really get a bunch of science on your board, you can then go up there, trade it for 2 of, say, warfare or exploration. The 4th available action is to assassinate another crew member's ship, so that is what that space looks like. To do this action, you remove their ship from a spot on the board and you're going to place it over here in limbo. Next, you're going to take one of your drones, so one of these little ships, and place it on the spot where you took their ship from. You can then use that drone to take the action of that spot. So if you have no drones available, you can still assassinate the ship, but you will not get the benefit of taking the extra action. So this is really how you mitigate that worker placement. If someone keeps taking your spot, you can just say, hey, I'm going to send you to limbo. Lastly, if you do take the assassinate action, you will get to gain the first player token. So you would take it from whoever has it, place it on your board. The last action that you can take with your chronoship is to choose a mission. So like I said, 2-player game, only one of these spots is open. In a 3 or 4-player game, both spots would be open. When you choose a spot, you can choose from any of the 3 face-up butterfly effect cards. You're going to place one face-up on your mother ship, and then you will slide the remaining 2 down the main board, and then a new mission will come out on top. We're going to go back to some of those main actions now. So when a technology you own is triggered, so in this case, if someone was to visit either of these 2 spots, this would be triggered. You can choose one of the knowledge types that's shown on the card to collect for free. This is done as part of a player action, so it is not its own action. You can also use crew members' primary and or secondary abilities, which are shown on the card. These abilities are explained in depth in the rulebook and are really well explained on the cards themselves. I'm not going to get into them right now, as there's so many of them. So the last main action that can be taken during the first phase is completing a butterfly effect mission. So let's just say I've taken this one. These 2 will come down, a new one will come out. So this can be done at any point during your turn once all the requirements are met. These requirements include turning in a number of specific knowledge discs, owning a certain number of technology cards, and having your ship in a certain time zone. If a technology card was required to complete the mission, your drone is then returned to you, and that card is placed at the bottom of the appropriate deck. Next, your meddling in the time zone has caused an alternate time zone or wormhole to appear. So the card is going to tell you which it is. This would be C, so I'd go through the C deck, find 7C, and I'm going to read both sides of it. I'm going to choose which side to play face up, and then I'm going to place one of my drones on it to show that I'm responsible for that mayhem. If I'm out of drones, then I would simply skip that step. Then I'm going to move my chronoship from the original time zone to the alternate wormhole. So we're just going to use this for an example. I would move this here on this spot, and it's going to give me an action. If I had one of my drones on it, I would get to take that action twice. In this case, I would collect 2 science. This card is now available for actions from all other players to use, so if an opposing player uses it and you still control it with your drone, you also get to take the action. Lastly, you're going to flip over the butterfly effect mission card, showing that you have completed it. And so the goal is to complete 3 of those during your turn. You can assassinate from this spot, and if you needed to complete like a tech card for a later mission or something, you can remove the drone from it and move it to a tech card. So once all players have placed all of their ships, you're going to move on to phase 2. So this is recover any crew members who were sent to limbo. So you're going to do that by spending a knowledge disc that matches their type, or you can spend 2 discs of any kind to retrieve them. If you are unable to pay for them, they're going to remain there into the next round, or whatever round it is that you're able to get those tokens to retrieve them and use that ship. So if they're going to stay there during the next turn, you are going to lose the ability to place a ship, so you are going to have 1 or more less actions than the other players. Next, you're going to refresh all the time zones that do not have a ship or a drone placed on them. So placing a ship on this spot will leave Marie Antoinette face up for the next round. But this telephone would move to the bottom, and now the motor vehicle is available. So you're going to do that for all that do not have a ship or a drone if you assassinated in that spot. And then we're going to move on to all players returning their chronoships and drones. The drones only return if they were on a worker placement spot. Anything on a tech or a alternate wormhole would stay there. So once all the ships are returned, find out who the first player token is, and then you're going to restart phase 1 again. The game will immediately end when one person has completed 3 missions. So you're not going to finish out the round, you're not going to get equal amounts of turns. Once someone has completed 3 missions, that is it. So I hope that is a good explanation of how Utopia plays. We also have a stream of the game on our board game channel, the Board Game Spotlight YouTube, if you want to check it out to see a full playthrough of the game. Again, this is coming to GameFound on July 19th from Gravity Games. This is Utopia. Thank you so much for joining me.